Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Boomer Millennial Process, where there are no stupid questions, just stupid answers.
Yeah, welcome back, everybody. Today, our topic is actually going over populisms and how do they affect us, and what the hell are they? So, I'm gonna start this out. I actually from the forget Britannica. I forget what their book.
Encyclopedia Britannica.
Encyclopedia Britannica. Thank you. I could not remember the word encyclopedia, but the Encyclopedia Britannica.
You didn't have them by the time you were born. I grew up with those.
I'm about to say I saw them. I had people that had them on shelves. I just never grabbed them. But from their website. So a populism is a political program or movement that champions or claims to champion the common person, usually by favorable contrast with a real or perceived elite or establishment. So it says a populism usually combines elements of the left and the right, opposing large business and financial interests, but also frequently being hostile to established liberal, socialist, and labor parties. What?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, everybody talks about this populism being something new. Hell, it's been around since before Caesar.
Oh yeah.
Of course, back then they called it demagogy.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things of I wanted to have that to start just so.
Yeah, I understand. It helps to give a definition.
Yeah. But yeah, it's one of those things of like I'm a this doesn't say much for my schooling because I spent most of my schooling as a public school kid. We never learned what this shit was.
We did when I was in school, but that was 30 years before your school.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. It's something we hear about all the time now, especially with the recent presidential election, the left versus the right. And it's one of the I find it funny, and it was a little bit hilarious to me where they were bringing up a lot of that during the election of, oh, these extreme rightists. Okay, so we're gonna just use left and right. Okay, so
well, you know where they came up with left and right, don't you? It's where they sit in Congress. The Democrats or the leftists sit on the left side of the building, and the rightists or the conservatives sit on the right side.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is they call it the left and right for that. It's one of those things of really and truly, it like you said, it's Democrats on the left,
Republicans on the right,
but,
conservatives and liberals.
But there's conservatives and liberals on both sides.
True. I've always considered myself more of a libertarian.
Yeah.
Or before libertarian was invented, I called it independent thinking.
Don't fuck with my shit. That's what I call it.
Yeah. I earned it. It's mine. You don't need to have anything to do with it. And that's where populism comes in now with this contemporary progressive populism. Progressiveness. That's their new buzzword.
I love that term, buzzwords. Because it's some people those things of you know why it creates a buzz?
Because it's easy to remember.
Well, number one, it's easy to remember. Number two, it's going to be some people are going to like it, other people are going to get triggered. There's another fun buzzword for you.
Oh yeah, it always drives me because the trigger warning, which is the new thing for the last couple of years.
Oh yeah. This trigger warning. So this is either going to make me sad or it's going to piss me off. And the fact that you started with trigger warning, we're already starting with pissing me off.
The fact that the trigger warning is, I warn you now that what I'm going to say is my opinion, and if you don't agree with my opinion, you have a choice to either try to convince me I'm wrong or shut the fuck up because I don't give a damn. whether it hurts your feelings or not.
Well, it's one of those things of that's where the whole trigger warning came into being is we're so worried about other people's feelings. I have no control over how you're going to feel about what comes out of my mouth. I'm sorry. That's your problem.
Exactly.
Um,
And so many people that are in society. That's where we get into the stuff with social media and stuff. But we're getting off topic.
well, not really.
Well, yeah, true. I mean, it all relates.
Yeah, and that so like I just pulled up another thing. So I have two different articles that I have pulled up right now from very different areas. So this first one is the American populism from 1876 to 1896. So from our first century, the end of our first century as a country for the next 20 years. And just looking it over quickly, it's talking about how this is where we got into the populism of the American farmer because it shows all your businessmen, all your congressmen, everything all around in a circle. And in the biggest right in the center is the farmer with two horses pulling a plow and
Right.
a big bold red banner says "I feed you all."
Yep.
And it's one of those things of
Well, that's one of those commercials I've heard on the radio about. It was a promo for one of those farms that wants to just ship their food directly to you type thing. Is they state that 5% of the population grows the food in this country, but 100% of everybody eats it.
yeah.
I don't care if you're a vegetarian, a vegan, an omnivore like most of us, herbivore or whatever. You have to eat. That's how the body was designed and made.
I mean, whether and look, I'll take this even further this time, where I was being a little bit more candid in episode one. I'll take this a little bit further. Whether you're male, female, intersex, decide that you just want to be a fucking dog that morning, you still got to
eat. No matter how you look at it, you got to eat.
Whether it's meat, vegetables, kibble, whatever you want.
Well, the kibble is made out of vegetables and meat.
Yeah. So this was 1860 to 1890, the biggest populism that where it talks about populist origins was the People's Party, which was the nation's farmers.
Oh, you're talking about in the United States.
In the United States, yes. I had
the article we read this from originally. That I got this from originally goes all the way back to pre-Christ days.
Yeah. Well, I have two different views over here that I'm starting with the US and then I actually have one from BBC. So
BBC.
Yeah. Like the UK.
Which BBC. I didn't. What the hell happened here?
BBC, like the British Broadcasting.
Yeah. Well, I didn't understand. I didn't realize you said BBC. I thought you said BDC.
Oh, well, I was clarifying the British Broadcasting Center, not
system.
What
or
a lot of not what a lot of people look up on porn sites. But so
that's BDM, by the way. Back to the topic at hand.
Yeah, sorry, but it's one of those things of the original American populism with the populist origins started following the Civil War when American agriculture expanded rapidly into new terrain, opening new continents for the South, new anchorage for wheat and other grains across the Great Plains. It opened up 421 million new acres to the plow, doubling the size of American farms, which is where our original populist came from, was basically the Farmers Alliance.
Yeah.
That was the original populism of the U.S. No, the other thing I pulled up from BBC is actually talking about modern stuff. Talk about Donald Trump, Jeremy Corbyn, and Rodrigo Duterte. Uh,
What in the world is going on? Got something messed up on my mouse. There we go. Got something punched.
But it's funny because, like, one thing I do agree is this populism is on the rise, especially among Europe's right and in the U.S., where it helped crown Mr. Trump. What?
Helped crown Mr. Trump.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things.
I mean, he's a populist. He was been a populist since he was an adult. And back in the 80s.
I would say he's a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
So of course he's going to look at populisms, but it's just one of those things of their big thing is talking about the rise of the right. Populist parties can be anywhere in the political spectrum. In Latin America, there was Venezuela's late President Chavez.
Hugo Chavez. I remember that dumb bastard when I was younger.
So in Spain is the Podemos party, and in Greece, the label is also applied to the Syriza. They are all on the left. The most successful populists today are on the right, particularly the radical right. That was a quote from a Professor Mudd, M-U-D-D-E. Politicians like Marine Le Pen in France, Viktor Orban in Hungary, and Donald Trump in the U.S. combined populism with anti-immigrant nativism and authoritarianism. The thing is, they talk about authoritarianism. I don't see a lot of that in our country since the election.
No, not at all. But well, the authoritarian since the last election, we got the authoritarianism when between 2020 and 2024.
Yeah.
And actually, if you go back to 2008, elections have consequences. You lost, sit back in the back seat.
Yeah.
Which was what Obama told the Republicans.
Oh, yeah. But it's one of those things of that's one thing I do have to say is at least with the most recent election,
yeah,
I expected to see a lot more issues come from Trump winning.
What kind of issues are you talking about?
I didn't expect Kamala to just step back.
Oh, you expected them to challenge everything like they did when he won the first time?
Yeah.
Well, part of the reason they didn't was for the first time in modern, well, I can't say modern history, but the first time in probably 20, maybe 25 years, the winner won the electoral vote and the popular vote.
Yeah.
So it was, no matter how they looked at it, they were trounced and they couldn't say anything about it. Everything just pointed to the fact that they lost. So all the screaming and hollering they were doing before they got all the results in amounted to nothing because they were proven wrong.
Well, I actually found another fun little thing. So this breaks down populism into 3 different categories.
Oh, cool.
So you have cultural populism, claims that the true people are the native members of the nation state, and outsiders can include immigrants, criminals, ethnic and religious minorities, and cosmopolitan elites. Cultural populism tends to emphasize religious traditionalism, law and order, sovereignty, and painting migrants as enemies. It's kind of hard to, other than people who come here illegally, it's kind of hard to paint a migrant as an enemy. If someone comes to our country, yes, I work in law enforcement, and I will be the first to say I have been in a courtroom where I've seen it go terribly wrong. But it's one of those things of, yes, I understand there's a lot of hoops to jump through to get citizenship in our country.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, put in the work. That's all we're asking.
I mean, other countries, you can't become a citizen of their country. I mean, they have more paperwork in France and in most countries in Europe than we ever do.
Yeah, I'm about to say you want to see, you think there's a lot of people that are up in arms about ICE right now, ever since Trump took office, and
He
within like,
actually let them start enforcing the laws.
yeah, and it was one of those things that there's a lot of people that are up in arms about that. If you want to be up in arms about that, go online, look up what happens if someone decides to cross the border into Poland right now.
Try to cross the border to Russia. You'll be shot on sight.
Yeah. I'm going to say, Russia, you're going to be shot on sight. I just saw a video the other day. They broke through the fence to get into Poland. An SUV pulled up, held them at gunpoint, got them on the ground, arrested them, patched up the fence, and then drove them to the nearest fence and said, "Get the fuck out of our country."
Try that in East Asian countries or West Asian countries, for that matter, like Iraq, Iran, Egypt.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Are you hearing me well? Do I sound like I'm in a bucket?
no, I hear you fine.
Okay.
No, yeah, I get. It's one of those things of more of your European countries have, like Northern Europe has a stronger anti-immigrant thing. Because I'm gonna be real, if you drop me in the middle of the Middle East and I just started walking through a desert, I'm probably gonna pass through 3 countries before I find something.
That's possible.
Like, at least send me with water. That's all I ask. But then the next one is socioeconomic populisms. And I think that's the one that that's become a lot of the buzzwords with the populist.
Especially around here in this country.
Yeah, it claims that the true people are honest, hardworking members of the working class, and outsiders can include big business, capital owners, and actors perceived as propping up an international capitalism system. Hey, that sounds familiar. And then the last one it talks about is
you talking about the contemporary progressives?
that's just an over. So this one, the socioeconomic populism, is an overarching.
Oh, you're talking about the socioeconomical one, not the.
Yeah. So, like I said, this breaks it down into 3 types of populisms. So what you were talking about takes that and actually goes further down. So it just breaks it down more. These are 3 overarching thought processes.
Right.
Which the last one is the anti-establishment populism, paints the true people as hardworking victims of a state run by special interests and outsiders as political elites. Although all forms of populism rail against political elites, anti-establishment populism distinguishes itself by focusing on establishment elites as the primary enemy of the people and does not sow as many intra-society divisions.
So, from our political standpoint, that'd be the socialists or right now that's run by a Democratic political party doing that kind of stuff. Because they want to tax the rich, which you could give them all the stats in the world. They never do believe you that the rich are already taxed more than the rest of us anyway, even though I get a question. If I have to pay 22% of $150,000, 22% is like what? I think what I paid this year was $13,000. Compare that to, okay, Elon Musk is the richest man in the world in his companies and all that stuff, even with all their tax write-offs and stuff. He basically earns, let's say, $1 billion a year, and he pays 1%. 1% of $1 billion is still more than I make in a year.
Yeah.
That's what. Let me look here. 1% of $1 billion. If I get it in my calculator.
Yeah, my brain's not one to math right now.
Times 1% equals $10 million.
Yeah.
1% of $1 billion is $10 million. And they're saying we need to tax them more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like,
Of course, tax businessmen more, and they have to charge more for whatever services they're providing, so we actually have to pay more.
yeah. So I actually, where you brought that up, I brought up the current, the new tax brackets that'll be in 2026.
Oh, good. Thank you. Well, that'd be next year's taxes, but yeah.
Yeah. But it's the rates under TCJA and if TCJA expires, because they're talking about it expiring before 2026.
Right.
So this is single filing. This is if someone is single.
Right.
So there are 7 tax brackets starting at 10%, topping out at 37% if under TCJA, which we're currently under. So this would be what our tax brackets would be this year.
Right.
So the first rate begins at $0.
Oh boy.
The second rate starts at $12,250. So if you're making less than $12,000, your tax bracket what you have to pay in is 10% of earnings. Then the third rate begins at $49,750.
Mm-hmm.
So between $12,250 a year to $49,750 a year, you're paying 12%. Then from I'm just gonna round this to the nearest thousand because it's gonna make it easier for me. Basically, from 50,000 to 106,000, you're looking at 22%.
Which is basically what I had to pay.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too with my job. Then from 106 to 203,000 is 24. From 203,000 to 257,000 is 32.
Mm-hmm. And then it supposedly it goes up from there, but still.
Yeah, 257 to 642 is 35%, and anything over 643,000 is 37%.
Right.
As a single person filing taxes.
Which most anybody making that much money is not a single person filing taxes. They're doing like at a household business, something like that.
Oh yeah.
But which puts you in a different tax thing, or tax not bracket, but category.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just like this. So I that was the single. So joint filers, head of household, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
technically, if we combined all our finances here, I could do head of household, and then everybody else be deduction.
Yeah.
Since we all live here.
Yeah.
But it's probably cheaper this way for us.
Yeah. But
your mother and I were looking at that the other day.
All right. So we need to get back on topic.
That still relates to the topic. I mean, it comes down to part of this populism that we were talking about with the contemporary populism's favor higher taxes for the rich, more entitlements for the poor, which the poor, the rich keep getting, George Carlson said it best. In the economic society we have today, the rich keep getting on richer. The poor actually, what is it? The rich do none of the work, get all the money. The middle class does all the work and gets some of the money, and the poor they're just scared to piss out of the middle class.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to a thing I heard back when I was in high school and working part-time at a factory.
Mm-hmm.
Is someone actually wrote this on a stall, and it made me laugh when I saw
So
it.
we're doing bathroom stall notes now. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, why not? But it
Pearls
was
of wisdom from the toilet.
my boss makes $1, I make a dime. That's why I shit on company time.
I used to do that for years. I'd actually hold it until I got to work.
But yeah, it was just one of those. It's one of those things like that. I think the biggest thing with populisms is no one's ever going to be truly happy with anything that any government does.
There's always going to be people who want to work hard, that will work hard and proud of it, to earn their way into, earn their living, try to make society better, make the world better, and there will always be people that don't want to do anything and want it all handed to them, and the spectrum in between.
Yeah. And I mean that it's one of those things of, granted, this is coming from me where I've not gone without a job since I was 16 years old.
No,
I don't
not really.
I think I went like 6 months without a job.
You and your sister both did that, but we held you to that to finish school too. Your
But
sister was the same way, remember?
yeah, but it's one of those things of, I don't understand the people that want to live on handouts.
Because if you get a handout, you don't have to do anything.
I do. That's the part I don't understand.
I had a patient when I was still working at Vanderbilt one time that his family disowned him because he wanted to better himself and work for a living.
What the fuck?
Yeah, they were welfare people.
Well, and that was one thing I saw recently was a video. Girls' food stamps got cut off,
Mm-hmm.
and she was freaking out. She goes, what am I going to do?"
Oh yeah, I remember that. I saw that video too.
And she's like, I've only had food stamps and had Social Security since I was 19 when I had my child. I don't have any work experience. What am I going to do? How am I going to survive? It's like, well, McDonald's is always hired.
And her welfare check was like $5,000.
Yeah.
And she had the phone, she had the car, she had the internet, she had all these things that you and I have to work to pay for.
Yeah. But and it's one of those things of,
Part of that is taught in school too, in these public schools, about getting the benefits and working. They used to teach you, the basics: reading, writing, arithmetic, be a contributing member to society. And nowadays, they try to teach you how to get over on society, get over on people.
Well, it's one of those things of, it's not the school teaching that.
It's the system.
It's the system.
It is the school, because the school is part of the system. But in some cases, the specific teachers, none of yours.
Yeah, well,
of your sisters did, but none of yours.
Well, it's one of those things. I'm gonna go a little bit deeper into that, because I have several friends. I have friends that work with the Board of Education.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. It's not the school. It's not and a lot of times it's not the teachers. It's not what they're learning in school. It's kind of like what we're doing right now. It's the people they're watching online.
Well, true.
How about that? Let's put it this way. I will show you, and we've talked about this. This app right here.
Yes, I know. I have it too, but only to monitor.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things of that app right there. Like when during the Biden administration, there was a guy that came up here, was a wanted man in his country, was literally using TikToks to teach illegal immigrants on how to squat in houses and be able to get money from the government to do so.
And some of our politicians now are using TikTok to teach illegal immigrants how to escape ICE.
Oh, I know. There's a whole movement called "Cute Winter Boots."
Yes, I don't want to mention any names, but one's the congressman from Minnesota, and another one's a congressman from New York, or women.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a big movement of get your cute winter boots ready because they need boots to stomp on ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you noticed though? They're complaining about all this, but they've not changed the laws. They never did change the laws before. They're angry because the laws are being enforced.
Yeah.
They said our immigration system is broken. It's not broken. It was just never being adhered to.
Yeah.
What else have we got here? Definition of populism.
You're turning away from your mic again.
I'm sorry. Let me move my mic. I was looking at the screen over here.
Yeah.
Turn my mic toward me, I guess, like that. Does that help if I'm like this now?
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Socioeconomic class, ethnicity, interest groups, labor unions. You already went through most of this. Because I'm looking at the definition. What is populism definition and examples? Which most of it deals with politics.
Yeah, so populisms themselves, like I said at the beginning, from the Encyclopedia Britannica, it's a political program or movement. It's everything about populism is political.
Yes. Well, everything in life is political at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, just trying to get a promotion at work, no matter what your job is, you have to deal with internal politics. You do. I don't anymore since I'm semi-retired and I only work PRN where I work, so I don't plan on getting a promotion.
Yeah,
but when I was in the Navy, it was a combination of written tests and politics.
Yeah. And I mean, that just like when I tested for promotion in January, we had to take a written test.
Mm-hmm.
Scored high on that, and then I had 2 interviews that I had to go through to be able to get put in order on a list for the position that I was looking for, which I went from number 1 after the test. After the interviews, I'm number 8. But it's one of those things of I've always been, I don't play politics.
And that neither do I, and that's our problem because I never got, well, I did kind of get promoted once when I was working for Vanderbilt. It was more of it was politics because I had been a nurse for a year after working there for a decade as a tech. And I got a phone call one night when I was working nights after I got my nursing license. They said, we took a vote and you are going to be charge nurse tonight. I said, excuse me, what? I'm going to do what? They said, yeah, we didn't have a charge nurse available tonight, and it was just between you and one other person. So we took a poll from all the people working today, and they said you'd probably be the best person for the job, not because of your experience as a nurse, but because your experience as a member of the staff.
Well, I mean, that's like not too long ago, before we had a shakeup in our supervision. I had one sergeant on duty, and he shoots me a text. He has me working as kind of just the catch-all,
Yeah.
and helping him out. And I just randomly get a text, "Hey, I'm going to be stuck in the bathroom for a little while. If something comes up, handle it. You have my authority."
Oh, that was just temporary positional authority there.
Yeah, but it was one of those things. If we had one sergeant on duty, and that sergeant literally went, "I trust you. Do what needs to be done." That's like one of my sergeants now. If I find something wrong on the floor, and the best way I can handle it is to do something that a supervisor has to approve, I'll go to my sergeant. I'll be like, "This is what I'm dealing with. This is what I think needs to be done." And if she's in the middle of something, I literally asked her the other day. I'm like, "Do you trust my judgment?" And she goes, "Yes." I said, "Okay. The information is here on your desk. I'm going to take care of it, and I'm going to make sure everything is done in the computer the way it needs to be done. You just look at it afterwards, make sure everything's done correctly. You double check me." Granted, I also helped train that sergeant. So, but
I had many of people that I have trained over the years that have become my supervisors.
Same. But yeah, when it comes to the populisms, it's all a political thing. It's
That was one of the things we talked about that we wanted to try to avoid with this podcast, but it's unavoidable.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things of it comes down to ideology. So you and I both come from the ideology of I'm going to work to get my money. I'm going to use my money to get the things that I want.
I tried to instill that in your sister too, but it didn't quite take. Even though she works for a living, and she works hard too.
Yeah. But it's one of those things of there's still people that have the ideology that think what we do working for a living is dumb. Why would you work when the government will hand you a check?
Oh, and I worked for the government for 40 years.
Yeah.
They handed me a check all the time. In fact, they're still handing me checks for my retirement, but that's different. I earned that.
But I think that's where the populism, where there's a divide in a lot of it, is you have the side that doesn't want to work, you have the side that does want to work and wants to earn their thing, that they get irritated. They're paying for the people that don't want to work. Then you have a third side to it, because that was one of my favorite statements that I learned from working in the court system, was there's three sides to every story. There's his side, there's her side, and there's the truth. Now, when it comes to
anything, it's not really a side as more or less as a perspective, but we say sides.
Well, and it's one of those things. I took that and kind of ran with it, because I look at everything as there are three sides to every situation.
Yeah.
So, like when it comes to like this populism thing we're talking about, okay, you have those that don't want to work. You have those that do want that. I'll be the first to admit, most days when I get up for work, I don't want to go to work, but
yeah, I still work 1 week, 5 days a month. I work 5 days in a row, once a month. I don't want to do it either. But of course, I've been doing it for 40 some years. And, but there's also, I understand what you're saying. There's three sides to every story. There's people who don't want to work, people who want to contribute to society. There's people who want to help and they get paid for it, and that's their job. They just want to work hard, and they feel gives them their personal fulfillment. But this generation, not your child, but the generation that was born, I don't know, they're just now coming of age, is the first generation that seemed to act like or think that The world owes them something as opposed to they owe the world. And they're the first generation to think that way. Every generation before that, my generation, your generation, like I said, your sister's right on the border in that area. My parents' generation, we were taught a combination of you're not owed a damn thing, you have to earn it. You're not owed respect, you have to earn it. And kids today think that they're owed everything. They come out, they go to the colleges, they have a college degree and doing nothing. And they want a six-figure salary to start at a job.
Because your generation and my generation taught them that's what you have to get that.
I understand that too, but still, even we taught them to get that, yes. I mean, your mother still believes you need a college degree or not. I believe in trade school too. So,
to be real, at this point, I don't believe in any of it. You know what a college degree proves? You will show up and
you would. Well, actually, it's a meme. I think it has Dwayne the Rock Johnson saying it's or somebody like that that actually says a 4-year degree proves one thing: you were willing to show up, pay attention, on time, and do what they asked of you. That's it. That's all a 4-year degree does. And for a lot of businesses, that's where they want you to start, but they're going to start you not at $110,000 a year. They're going to start you at, maybe more than minimum wage. Some is minimum wage. Some's going to be, like $20, $30 an hour because they still have to teach you to do what they want you to do.
But you want to know where the schism comes on that now? So I have a decade of experience working for law enforcement.
Yes, you do.
So, okay, well, let me backtrack before that.
Mm-hmm.
That meme is great, but I went to college.
Yes, you did.
I did college for 5 years working on a fucking associates and still didn't get it.
Son, I went for 10 years to get my associates.
Yeah, but
I was working at the same time, and so were you.
But it's one of those things. When I went to college, you know how many people in my generation showed up on time?
Very few.
Mm-hmm. Half of the instructors don't now in college, they don't take roll call. As long as you do the homework, you show up for exams, and you do that much, just do the work, you don't have to show up to class.
Well, they were kind of like that when I was going to college.
Yeah, like they don't expect you to be there. They expect you to do what you're going to do. As long as you do the work, cool.
If you need to prove that you listen to them or at least read the material.
Yeah, but it's one of those things of that's where the biggest schism comes now. Is there's a lot of jobs out there that want you to have a college degree.
My job required it, but I also had to show up. I had to be there. I had to take notes because a lot of things they tested on was not in the written material. It was in what they presented as well.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things. There's certain things I understand needing a degree for. The medical field is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I don't want Joe Blow that watched a YouTube video trying to cut out my kidney.
I loved it I saw it on YouTube once.
Yeah. I watched the YouTube video last night. It'll be fine.
What's that? But I stayed at a Holiday Select or whatever. What was that stupid commercial?
Yeah.
Are you a doctor? No, but I stayed at a Holiday Select or Holiday whatever it was last night. Whatever that commercial was.
Yeah. But it's one of those things of like I was applying for jobs last July. I sent out 140 job applications with a 10-year career in law enforcement where they could call and go, hey, does this guy show up? Does this guy do this? Does he does what he's supposed to? And my employee file shows that I do.
Yeah.
My employee file has things in it that show I will go above and beyond.
That's good.
But because I do not have a college degree,
Yeah.
because I do not have some of the stuff I applied for literally just said bachelor's degree, not bachelor's degree in, just bachelor's degree. We want to prove you can show up for 4 years. Motherfucker, I'm showing you I can show up and do
Well,
what
see,
I'm supposed to for 10.
that's why I think, like I said, I don't believe in strictly going to college. That's why I believe in trade school as well, because trade school actually teaches you a career.
Yeah.
Going to plumber school, electrician school, engineering school, where you learn to be a contractor, that kind of thing.
Yeah. SDI.
Yeah.
Sonoran Desert Institute. Trains you to be a gunsmith.
Yeah. Those kind of things.
I look at,
I mean,
believe me,
to me, that's the same as going to college, or even better in some cases.
well, and that's one of those things that I think a lot of places put way too much stock into a college degree.
I agree.
Because, okay, if I wanted to go out, I have my armed guard license from working in courts.
Right.
If I wanted to go out and get an armed guard job, I did look into that. I decided against that because I was like, yeah, screw doing what I do with less power,
Exactly.
less authority. But
less authority, yeah. You have authority you have authority on this square footage.
Yeah.
Outside that square footage, you're screwed.
But it was one of those things of, so my job now, I make right at $27 an hour with 10 years experience. A lot of the places I was looking at for armed security, even with my 10 years experience, would be like $8 less an hour. Even with a decade of experience doing the job.
Yeah. Well, that just.
But the thing is,
but with decade in law enforcement, you got there, of course, the different. I'm saying in law enforcement, you work for the county, you could go work for the city, but they also require some kind of college degree in like criminology or something like that. But that is a degree that you would learn toward that career.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't say any college degree. They want a specific degree.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Well, that's like my place of employment actually changed our promotion standards to no longer actually just having a degree when it comes to college to get bonuses and promotions. It's actually how many credit hours you have.
And you got plenty of those.
Yeah, I actually need to go up to Ball State and get my
take a couple of classes.
Well, not take a couple of classes. I need to get my transcripts.
Yeah.
And turn them in because I think their first one was 60 credit hours. The other one was 120 credit hours. I'm pretty sure I'm close to 120 credit hours because I changed my
major?
My major 3 times. So
yeah.
But
your mother and I finally paid that off.
Yeah. But it's one of those things of, we started this with populism, and it all comes down to the individual ideology. And it's one of those things of, yes, you will find a group that believes the same as you do, but I almost say populism itself, as a political of a thing, it comes down to ideology versus morality.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first to admit, I'm morally gray. I believe that morality itself is a situational thing, that good isn't always good, bad isn't always bad. It comes down to the situation that you were in and the circumstances of that specific situation. Just like, say, if we would have had a whole bunch more conflict with this last presidential election, people would have taken up arms. Who's right, who's wrong? Now, it's going to be one of those things when it comes down to that situation, it would come down to who's fighting and who's defending.
True.
In my mind. If people are coming onto your property that you have paid for, trying to take the things that you have earned money to, that you have earned, that you personally have gained yourself by the finances you have accrued, you're defending yourself. And my thing is I'm going to defend what's mine. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's like, I'll defend my house. I'll defend my family. That's going to be how it's going to be.
Right.
But if you look at it from an outside point of view, there's a lot of people that think my outlook on that is wrong. Granted, we call them socialists and communists, but but that's another thing I always found funny is your more conservative people, the people that have a more view like that on things politically wise. So if you look at the colors that are given for Democrat and Republican, Democrats are blue, Republicans are red.
Right.
Which is very ironic when the whole big movement of fight the communists, fight the red during the Soviet Union times.
Like Red China and Soviet Union, yeah.
Yeah. Republicans were in power. The red was in power.
Right.
That's just one of those little like trivia BS that goes through my head that I just find kind of funny.
I understand that.
But
trying to think about that too, because a lot of people just vote on name too, name recognition.
Yeah.
I mean, Eddie Murphy did a movie about that.
I mean,
where it was called The Distinguished Gentleman.
Yeah.
Where he had the same last name as a politician who died, but nobody paid attention. So he ran a campaign to become the I think it was representative of some place in Florida, and nobody paid attention that there was no pictures on it. They just saw the name and voted for him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Trudeau.
Oh, we're going to Canada now.
I mean, Trudeau has never had an actual job other than politics.
Neither have Bernie Sanders.
And well, it's one of those things.
And he's a socialist. He's admitted socialist, Bernie Sanders.
Well, it's one of those things. Trudeau he has never had a job outside of politics, and that has been fact checked. He grew up with two politicians for parents. That was weird.
I clicked the overlay thing on the chat. A little late now. We only got about 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes left.
But he grew up with politicians as parents. He was always in the limelight of the political field. And so when he became of age in his country, he went into politics. And that's all he's ever known. And it's one of those things that they wonder why they have a lot of the issues that they have when it comes to Trudeau and his policies. It's because he's never worked a job. He doesn't know what it's like.
He don't know what the word job really means. What the word work really means. Was it I used to say those people are the type of people on the JOB who don't know how to WORK.
Yeah. But and that's where a lot of people, they get so upset about Trump and his tweets and this, that, and the other, and he's going to say mean things. Yeah. Hey guys, he worked for a living.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. His father gave each of his children
a small loan of $1 million.
A small loan of $1 million, and do with it what you will. Pay me back when you can. Go out in the world and be prosperous. Well, Donald J. Trump did.
Not at first, though.
No, he's not.
He's gone bankrupt 7 times.
So did was first name? His last name is Hershey.
Yeah.
Hershey. From Hershey's Chocolate.
Yeah.
Chocolate. He went bankrupt 7 times as well before he did it big.
Yeah.
Most of your successful millionaires and billionaires have failed on many occasions before they actually made it big.
And it's one of those things that always makes me think of there's a meme that you got 2 guys digging underground. And
I know that meme. I know
the
that
guy
meme.
on top is just going at it, just chugging away.
Mhm.
And the dude on bottom made it to a certain point, and you see him turn and looking the other way, just downtrodden,
And
just
giving up.
And it's just a thin sliver of earth left between him.
If he would just get 1 more time or 2 more times, he'd be. And the guy on top who's just wailing at it is nowhere near.
But it's one of those things of that was something I was taught growing up at school. Failure is part of the process.
What is it our karate instructor always taught us? You never lose a fight. You either win or you learn.
Yeah. And believe me, with how achy my body is when I wake up in the morning, I learned a lot.
You and me both, son. You and me both. We didn't make it to 5th degree easily. What was it he also used to say? You can be smart, son, or you can be strong. Some votes for stronger than others. Some votes for smarter than others.
Well, it's like another little video I saw one time. It was like, in this world, you could be smart and or you could be tough. And all of a sudden, it turns to like this big muscular dude. He's like, "Why are you crying?" Because I'm tough. I'm real tough.
I'm a tough little boy.
But
your son's like that. He learned it from his father.
He likes to take the hardest path.
Okay, you learned that from your father too.
So, but I think that pretty much wraps us up for the day.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So
I don't know if we stayed on topic or not.
Yeah, we kind of did, but we branched off here and there.
We kind of branched off, came back, and then basically it's just populism, just different people's beliefs from how society should be. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. Everybody has to come together with a compromise.
Yeah.
That's why the United States of America. Now, mind you, there are 3 Americas in this world. North America, which consists of the United States and Canada. Central America, which is Mexico, El Salvador, there's a couple of countries I can't think of right now. And South America, which has Chile, Ecuador, Brazil. But the United States is the most powerful country in the world because we're actually states.
Yeah.
Separate yet together.
There's a few that we would like to wash off in the ocean sometimes, but
that's their state. That's communities. The actual politics and government starts in communities. We live in this community. The hell starts in a household. We have our own little politics between you, me, your mother, your wife, and the kids, and how we think should run. I mean, I give you my opinion what I think should be done, but it's still with your children, but they're still your children. It's between you and your wife to decide which advice you should take.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like I said, it all starts from the household and works its way out to the county, city, county, states, and then the United States.
Well, I think that's a good place to end it. Remember, guys, I'm Josh. I'm the millennial.
I'm Joe. I'm the boomer.
And this is the Boomer Millennial Process, where there's no stupid questions, only stupid answers. See y'all next time.
Bye.